relationship. Now, being a majority of games and print works, Marisa is bound to meet lots of people and make some new friendships as such, which is what this section will be about. We talk about Marisa's relationship between these characters as they're ones she's interacted the most in either the past or this current moment. To start off, let's talk about the shrine maiden Reimu. Marisa is good friends with Reimu Hakari and is often hanging at the shrine. While it's Reimu's job to exterminate yokais, Marisa also snatches some requests at her convenience. In addition to incidents, there are many scenes where they're together, especially in the print work. It is, however, never shown that Marisa has been inside the shrine. Even though they're friends, they'll occasionally end up fighting each other over an incident they're trying to resolve or sometimes for personal reasons. Sounds typical, but anyway. In her fight with Reimu, she wins about 40% of the time. She's also jealous of how Reimu never does any training and yet is strong by her natural ability, so she's always bullied. Hakari blood too OP, that's for sure. In fact, if Reimu wasn't there, Marisa would die due to boredom, so their relationship is beneficial. However, whenever Reimu's involved in something strange, half the time it seems that Marisa induced it behind Reimu's back. Before the 9th volume of the Gensokyo Chronicle was completed, she and Reimu had already been friends for 4 or 5 years. This means that they have been friends since they were considerably young. In the print works, she eats together with Reimu at evening meals, which they also talk about in the games. Marisa named Reimu's representative spell Fantasy Temperament. During the PC98 era, in the good and bad endings, Marisa goes to the Hakare Shrine to play. In its Lotus Land story ending, the two went outside together in plain clothing, which implies that their relationship was good. In Marisa A's good ending of Lotus Land story, Reimu said that it wouldn't be good for Marisa to interfere with her work. Furthermore, when Reimu reminded Marisa that it was dangerous, Marisa simply laughed and disregarded that warning. It appears that her daily life hasn't changed much. If Curiosity of Lotus Asia, chapter 22 took place before a story of Eastern Wonderland, she may have already known and been friends with Reimu beforehand. Dialogue of the official version of Story of Eastern Wonderland doesn't explicitly state that it's their first meeting, although the dialogue in the trial version does. However, the canon between PC98 and Windows eras is debatable, which is a headache in its own right at times. Marisa has a living family, and trust me, that is some pretty rare shit, especially for a human. The equivalent to that is if Sho ever found her pagoda by herself. Anyway, Marisa's family runs a large secondhand shop in the human village called the Kirisame shop. As an only daughter, if she doesn't marry and leave successors, she cannot legally inherit the shop. Marisa has broken off relations with her family and avoids anything related to them. Damn, that's rather intense in my opinion. She says to Rinnosuke that she'll never go back to them. In Perfect Memento, it's stated that her family is a private matter and details are unclear. Well, that just makes my job more difficult in terms of research. Also, the Kirisame shop doesn't handle things related to magic item, which may be a reason why Marisa laughed. What the Kirisame shop actually sells and the organization of the family aren't revealed. Due to this, her family is an era of wide speculation. However, her father has been confirmed to have been within Korindo. None of her family members have been mentioned by name. Hopefully, one day, we'll learn more about her family. Scratch that, I want to know all the humans' family, but I digress. Alice is none one of those people. Alice Margatrode is a fellow magician of the Forest of Magic. Living in the same forest does make things convenient. They were partners in Imperishable, and she also supported Marisa in Subterranean. Within the PC98 canon, they met during the events of Mystic Square and fought, but the dialogue leaves open the possibility they may have known each other prior to these events. They also fought each other in PCB, which would have been the first time we met her in the Windows canon. In Imperishable, they teamed up as a bad relationship combination. Alice mentions that the only reason she invited Marisa is due to short on help. In the bad ending, while Marisa worked over the secret of measures of the Lunarians, Alice was tired and chose to sleep instead. And I can't blame Alice for sleeping. When you need to sleep, you need to sleep. By the time of the events of Subterranean Amnesia, Alice sent Marisa to the Underworld, saying that it was an Osen enjoyment game. Compared to the time of Imperishable, they had more amicable conversations, suggesting that the relationship has improved, as long as she's not stealing her precious thing anyway. Also, although Alice possesses the magic book called the Grimoire of Alice, Marisa has never stolen and returned it as she often does with books. Perhaps surprisingly, there have been no canonical instances of items being stolen from Alice, which is kind of a surprise in my opinion. Alice seems to have a love-hate relationship of sorts with Marisa, with the two often insulting and fighting each other, yet teaming up on several occasions. Sounds about right. I do that with my friends all the time. For all the bickering the two goes through, they seem to be close friends, as Alice once recommended Marisa's shop to the three Fairies of Light when they needed some yokai extermination. Furthermore, in Imperishable Bad's ending, she's comfortable sleeping over at Marisa's house. Let's switch to the residents of the Scarlet Devil Mansion, as she's been in their place a few times. The residents of the mansions are fully aware of Marisa sneaking into the magic library. They generally look the other way, but various incidents and win quotes from the fighting game shows that they'll fight Marisa in a duel if they actually see her in the act. Meaning if Marisa used some of Nitori's optical camouflage, she'd be good then. At other times, they'll simply leave her be, such as the mansion's private moon viewing party or Marisa's ending EOSD, where Sakya even plays along with her, either serving her food or helping to conceal her from Rumelia. Damn, Sakya, you're the main Kinsokyo needs. Well, when you ain't chopping humans up anyway. It's hinted Rumelia already knows Marisa's there too, though, and both are just using the opportunity of playfully insulting Marisa as a rat. Though she's on friendly enough terms that these days she can walk in without any issue for most of the residents, even if she takes books. Man, what a smooth-blooded criminal you are, Marisa. Speaking of the SDM, let's talk about Patchouli here. Patchouli Knowledge is one of the victims who gets burglared by Marisa, but was supporting Marisa in Subterranean. How you tolerate Marisa, I do not know. How much and in what way Marisa would steal Patchouli's book isn't clear, but in EOSD, Marisa is quoted, "There's so many books, so I'll carry them off," to which Patchouli replied not to do so. Also in Perfect Memento, something like, for Marisa, concerning books, she feels little guilt in stealing them, so she often steals them. In Subterranean, Marisa was told by Patchouli that she has to steal lots of books from other people's house, to which Marisa replied, "Guess I got it, just this once." Please tell me I read that wrong, but did Patchouli tell Marisa to steal some books? Another member of the SDM would be Flandre. Flandre Scarlet's conversation with Marisa and EOSD leaves an impression that the two are quite friendly, especially when Flandre said, "That means you can't use a continue," to Marisa, but may have been referring to the game's gameplay, breaking the fourth wall. However, in Perfect Memento, Marisa commented, "Sometimes when I sneak into the Scarlet Devil mansion, I run into the little sister. I had to slip by without drawing her attention. But after going through all that to get into the place, I was hoping I wouldn't run into her." I mean, dealing with a vampire with the power to destroy anything they want can be a hassle, that's for sure. We can't forget Rinnosuke yet, as if there was no Rinnosuke, we wouldn't have the main Hakuro, which in turn means no Master Spark. Rinnosuke Morichika might be the second victim of the burglary profession, but in actuality, Marisa pretty much never carries off things from Korondo at her convenience. As for why this is so, it's because Marisa is repeatedly in charge of collecting iron scrap. So though she doesn't steal, she's able to do borrowing transaction better than her usual borrowing. Rinnosuke also allows her to buy things on credit. Rinnosuke's point of contact is that he helped to fix Marisa's real family's Kirisame secondhand shop. Although it's before Marisa was born, after Rinnosuke became independent and opened the shop and repeatedly showed his face in the Kirisame hand shop, and due to this connection, Marisa has known Rinnosuke since she was young. Perhaps due to this, the influence he had on her wasn't just one or two things. The fact that Marisa uses star magic as well as her mania for collecting things are really from the start related to Rinnosuke. The star magic is good. The collecting part though, that's debatable. From Marisa's side, having not changed since she was young, he exists as an Oni-san, and on Rinnosuke's side, he has known her since she was a baby. There are also occasions when he treats her as a kid. Also, as a daughter of a mentor who has come to his help, she thinks that he's more or less diffident. But if one looks at his conversation with Marisa, there are things said quite bluntly, and therefore it can't be seen as diffidence. If needed to be said, they're related such that when Marisa takes charge of the iron scraps, she takes charge of them on unfairly easy terms. Marisa's collected scraps are occasionally slipped into her precious article. She must have known him at least since 1996, as from Curiosity of Lotus Asia Chapter 6 Prologue, Marisa once eavesdropped on a conversation between Rinnosuke and her father during one of Rinnosuke's rare visits to the Kirisame residence, and Rinnosuke stated in Chapter 20 that it's been 10 years since he last saw Marisa's father. That's been a while, or at least in human terms anyway. Marisa thinks Rinnosuke is stiff with her due to her family, but the truth is Rinnosuke keeps his guard up with her since he doesn't want her to suspect when he's lying to her, particularly when it comes to her paying Rinnosuke for items that she collects. Rinnosuke, my man, you are a cheeky bastard, I'll give you that. She's seen as an annoyance, who constantly imposes herself on him and takes what she likes from the shop. Like Patchouli, but they're still on good terms, and he seems to welcome her company. Friendly enough that he created and later gave her the Hakuro when she left her parents' home. She's also the only one to call him by his nickname Korin, although whether it implies fondness or just that they've known each other for so long, it is unknown. Let's talk about missile using Kappa Nitori. Nitori Kawashiro knows Marisa from the events of Mountain of Faith and fancies herself as a friend of Marisa's. She was a support character in Subterranean. Nitori isn't a magician, so it cannot be said that they have good compatibility. That they're a magician with a zeal for research and an engineer with vigorous thirst for knowledge is something that could possibly be said to be a point at which they are like fellows who get along too easily. Research and all that would be an easy way to have an interest for the two. There's been no depiction where the Yokai Mountain has ever been a victim of a robbery. Nitori herself has a personality of liking humans. Nitori and her fellow Kappas are even associated with Marisa in Walton Hermit, possibly for mutual business purposes. Even for Marisa, who's habitually aloof from the world, in Subterranean's conversation, she was like someone in high spirits pressing on. And a character we may never see again, but we'll keep hoping for, is Mima. Within the PC98, Marisa was subservient to Mima, and she tells Marisa to train harder in Phantasmagoria of Dim Dream, and Marisa saying, "I beat Lady Mima." Currently, she's the sole character who Marisa calls by a title of honor. Marisa admires Mima greatly, boasting that she can make a strategy guide in Story of Eastern Wonderland Omake because there's no way Mima-sama can be beaten, and apologizing to Mima when defeated by Reimu. Moreover, in Story of Eastern Wonderland, there was also a bit where Marisa manipulated star magic and sent forth something like Ori's sons. Afterwards, Mima also used star magic and Ori's. In the Windows canon, Marisa also has Ori's sons as a spell card and immaterial missing power. However, in the original work, there wasn't even a single scene where Marisa and Mima ever had a mutual conversation together, and the unique talk is only in Phantasmagoria of Dim Dream, winning expression. In Mima's character setting, there's not a single statement related to Marisa, and in Marisa's character setting, there's nothing except for Dim Dream where it said she longed for Mima and calls her Mima-sama. Additionally, Zune himself refuses to answer any questions associated with this relationship. Really, Zune? You gotta make this more difficult for us to guess? I mean, I'm sure the fans are fine with the speculation, but it couldn't hurt for us to get some concrete answers to their relationship. And to finish up with relationship, let's talk about the Mischievous Fairies or Fairies of Light, whichever you prefer. The three fairies have from the beginning lived in the Forest of Magic, and thus have known about Marisa before. Originally, the three fairies were simply fairies to be exterminated when Marisa caught them playing pranks on Reimu or herself. However, the fairies became Marisa's first customer at a shop where she liberated, maybe, their house from Tsuchioko. The three fairies, who are normally scared of strong people, appear to have grown closer together over the series. Instead of exterminating them outright, Marisa would join in on their games and sometimes play pranks on them instead. Although they originally ran screaming in fear from her, by chapter 16, the fairies refer to her as just Marisa and are close enough to hear her that they'll actually hug her for warmth in the winter. In the 16th chapter, a strange and bright-natured deity under the influence of alcohol, Marisa had the three fairies hanging, clinging to her neck, thus showing their close relationship. Man, everyone just loves Marisa. Reimu seems a bit perplexed at the sight and starts referring to them as those fairies that Marisa is always hanging around. And Marisa and the fairies proceed to team up to play a prank on Reimu. In later chapters, the fairies are happy to see her. Marisa is initially unable to see the fairies' house. To all humans, fairy home appear to be no more trees, even if they're actual houses from a fairy's point of view. However, for unexplained reasons, by the time of an Oriental sacred place, she's able to detect which tree is their new home simply by looking at it from a distance. Marisa herself seems surprised she can do this. It's magic. She ain't gotta explain shit for how she knew. She gives the fairy a cheerful nod and keeps it a secret from Reimu, who is attempting to find their home to evict them. Although she didn't have a relation to the three fairies then, she also appeared in Sangetsu's supplementary shooting game, Fairy Wars. Fun/interesting facts. This next bit will feature fun/interesting facts about Marisa I haven't mentioned yet. While I give you a thorough breakdown of Marisa, there are some other random facts you might be interested in. Do note that if you watch my interesting Touhou Facts series, there's a good chance you might have heard some of these before her, just a heads up. If you look at the icons for other Touhou games, you'll see that Marisa's face will be on them, even for games where she didn't really appear, like Shoot the Bullet. Marisa was first seen using a wand in Story, Phantasmagoria, and Lotus. She wasn't seen with a wand until UFO, which is the only Windows game we've seen her with one. When introducing herself or as who she is, Marisa often blatantly lies that she's a shrine maiden. Yeah, nice try there. And one last fact in this portion is that she seems knowledgeable of spell species not native to Japan, such as the beaver in chapter 5 of Wild and the Rafasa in chapter 14 in Oriental. To be fair, I didn't know what the Rafasa was until that chapter. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the relationship/fun and interesting facts for Marisa. Make sure to click on the video right now as it should send you to the next one and the final one, which should be fan-on stuff. So pretty much anything fan-related stuff associated with the character. Hope you guys enjoy.